That was neat. I had requested that. I'd asked her if she'd do that because our topic today is Via Creativa, the path of imagination, and that song just hit me, and so I asked her if she'd play it for us, and so thank you for doing that. Well, 13th century mystic Meister Eckhart spoke of 4 paths of the spiritual life, and so for the whole month of September, we are exploring each one of them. And we're taking a lot from the book Original Blessing by theologian and educator, author Matthew Fox, because he's kind of taken these ideas, these 4 paths, and kind of done quite a little talk, quite a study of each and every one of them. So the first week we began with Via Positiva, the path of awe, and that's where we're invited to see ourselves and the world around us as blessings, and that God is found in the glory of its creation, in the wonder and awe of the world around us. So the Via Positiva invites us to enjoy life. And I like to think of the Positiva, that's what's out there, I said it last week, that is like the breadth of our spirituality, how much joy we can contain. That's the breadth. And then last week we explored the Via Negativa, the depth of being, where we honor the mystery and the darkness. And while the Via Positiva calls us to the light of our magnificence, the Via Negativa asks us to explore the depths of who we are. And I think that to me, that's important because we need both of them. We need them both. In fact, Matthew Fox says that it is the intertwining of the Via Positiva and the Via Negativa that allows us to enter into the Via Creativa, the path of imagination, the path of creativity. So while the Via, and I was thinking about this, while the Via Positiva and the Via Negativa are personal to us, that how we experience and interpret the world, the Via Creativa is a path of relationship. It's the way that we co-create with God. It's the way we actually participate in the world that we are helping to form. Years ago, I took a class from Dr. Michael Beckwith, and he said that the attributes of God, love, truth, beauty, joy, harmony, peace, are absolute. So as attributes, they are possibilities, potentialities, waiting to be expressed. But they can only be expressed in relationship through us. You and I, because we live in this world of relationships, we live in this world of duality, are the vehicles through which the attribute of spirit is expressed. Our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, loved the expression of Aurobindo, we exist for the delight of God. And I like it too. We exist for the delight of God because it kind of says this whole idea that God can only express through us. So God's delight is us expressing. Dr. Holmes says, I happen to believe that everything in the universe in manifestation exists for the delight of God, not for the glory as though God were to be glorified, not for our salvation as though we were lost. All of this is nonsense. It is the babbling of an infant in thought. The universe exists for the delight of its creator, that it shall behold itself in its own works, know its beauty in that which is beautiful, and in us, I believe, behold its beloved son and daughter in whom it is well pleased. So by divine birthright, we are co-creators with this spiritual energy that you and I know as God. We are all artists, each having been given a wonderful canvas that we call life, and the paintbrush of our imagination as our artist's tool. As we age, we gather experiences, some that expand our world of wonder and imagination through the Via Positiva, some that expand the depth of our being through the mystery and sometimes pain of the Via Negativa. But it is this breadth and depth of our experiences that form our canvas. And what we paint on it is our interpretation of those experiences that give meaning and purpose to our life. Martha Graham, the famous dancer and choreographer, once said, "There is a vitality, a life force, a quickening that is translated through you into action. And because there is only one of you in all time, this expression is unique. If you block it, it will never exist through any other medium and be lost. The world will not have it. It is not your business to determine how good it is, nor how valuable it is, nor how it compares with other expressions. It is your business to keep it yours clearly and directly, and to keep the channel open." You know, we all began as budding artists. We were all filled with imagination. You know, ask a group of 5-year-olds if they can draw, if they can paint, if they can dance, and every single hand will go up. Ask those same kids again when they start college, and very few hands go up. Ask us how many hands would go up. Because something stifles our belief in ourselves and in our creative abilities as we age. You know, when my son was about 6, a neighbor came to me and said, "Your child is a liar. He said he could ice skate, but he's never been ice skating before." After she left, I confronted my son. "Mrs. Barnes said you told her that you could ice skate." "That's right, Mom," he said, looking up from his Lego set and went right back down to playing. And at that moment, I realized that his response to something he had never done was the assumption, "Yeah, I can do it." I've never tried it, so obviously I can do it. Where you and I as adults, our assumption, if we've never done something before, is, "No, I can't do that. I'm going to have to learn. I'm going to have to take lessons." My kid didn't think that when he was 6. He wasn't lying. He was giving an honest answer according to his own interpretation. So if you and I want to be that delight of God, if we want to experience the joy, beauty, and love that's our inheritance, we need to return to that place of childlike wonder. We need to see ourselves as artists, recapture our creativity, see ourselves as co-creators with that divine energy so that we can express the authenticity of who we are. We could give ourselves and the world no greater gift. You know, from the via positiva, the path of light, we see life as a blessing. And in the via creativa, we pass that blessing to others, to the world, through our self-expression. In the via negativa, we find, often through emotional or physical pain, the depth and resources we have within us to transcend. And in the via creativa, we share that strength through compassion, through our own self-expression. You know, there's the beautiful lines in the song, "The Rose," say to us, "It's the heart afraid of breaking that never learns to dance. It's the dream afraid of waking that never takes the chance." Children don't have the fears that we do. That's why they can raise their hands and say yes to their own imagination, to their own creativity. And as adults, if you and I learn to walk through those fears of being heard, of being judged, then we can learn to dance to our own heart's music, and we can dream big dreams, no matter what our outer limitation might be. John and I went to see the Peanut Butter Falcon this week. It's the story of a Down syndrome man who's been relegated to a residential nursing facility as the only place available that can care for him. And Zach has wanted to be a wrestler his whole life, dreaming of following in the footsteps of going to the school of his hero, Saltwater Redneck. He escapes from the home, and he befriends an outlaw who helps him find saltwater. You know, Zach's belief in his dream causes others to find theirs, and together with his outlaw friend and the young therapist from the residential home, he begins a whole new life. You know, what this film portrays for me is the coming alive of the via creativa, not only in Zach, but in the people who assist him, even saltwater redneck. The via creativa asks us to open our arms to our own creativity. Matthew Fox says the artist in each of us needs to be let out of the closet. It deserves to be shared, to be wondered at, and to be celebrated. So today, to help us return to our childlike wonder, I want us to think of ourselves first as images of God and therefore co-creators. To see ourselves as birthers of images and to trust the images that we birth. Scripture tells us that we are made in the image and likeness of God. What does that mean? You know, many of us grew up thinking of a God as a bigger image of us, you know, a huge entity in the sky somewhere that judges every action. So no wonder we learn to live in fear. And hopefully we've put those ideas away, those old ideas, but have we truly replaced them with God as a loving, creative energy, continually birthing images out of itself? If we can start to see God as that energy that is working through us and working through the world every single moment, then fears vanish. Julia Cameron, in the vein of gold, says, in our culture, God is so often thought of in terms of Calvinist austerity and renunciation that we forget there is clearly a godly glee in creative excess and artist in love with the materials themselves. So as an image and likeness of God, you and I have been birthed by, from, and in love. We've been given the tools to create our lives as artists. And the biggest tool we've been given is our own imagination, which is really God's creativity immersed in you and me. And when we use this tool of imagination, we are not alone. As Rosie said today, the forces of the universe come into play. This is the co-creative process. We set a law in motion through our imagination, belief, ideas, and the creative power of spirit moves it into manifestation. So in our own imagination, then, excuse me, we need to see our world as we want it to be, not necessarily as it appears to be. And that's where the birthing process begins. You know, as the child is conceived in and resides in the womb until ready to be born, we nurture those images, those ideas that call forth the highest and the best in us. And then we indeed become birthers of images. And we'll find them being birthed in a myriad of ways. You know, the vision statement that we repeat every single Sunday, love in action, every day, in every way, was birthed from a 2-day co-creation process that we did together in May of 2006, 2 months after I came on board as your minister. And from that statement and the accompanying intentions, we birthed our spiritual community. And from the visioning that we have done for each ministry, as well as the visioning and intention set for each year, I believe that our center is both spirit-driven and spirit-sustained. And I cannot think of a greater example of being birthers of images. So this whole creative process works for groups and it works for individuals. If we hold the highest vision in our imagination of what we want to birth, and if we don't allow fear to taint that vision, then the entire power of the universe will be behind us. And we will find things starting to unfold, sometimes in what appears to be absolutely miraculous ways, and sometimes it will grind slowly. But they must appear, for that is what the Via Creativa is all about. And then we have to trust the images. In the Via Creativa, experience moves faith out of the theoretical and into the personal. It calls us to action, to take that leap of faith, to step out of our comfort zone, to take a risk. And once we've had some of those spiritual experiences, then faith becomes a tool, and risk-taking becomes easier because we're learning to trust the process. Ernest Holmes says, all we have to do is state our desire, believe it, and let it alone. The hardest thing any of us has to do is to learn to trust the universe. We might say it should be the easiest thing to do, but it is not. We like to dabble with our request, pull our prayer back, give spiritual mind treatment, and then steal it back to see if it's taking root. In the last analysis, we must convince ourselves that we are in league with the only power that there is. He goes on to say, think of yourself as being in partnership with this divine presence and its creative law. Learn to trust His presence as you trust the simple fact that you are living. Do not be afraid to throw yourself in complete abandonment and with perfect acceptance into its soft embrace, for it is closer to you than your very breath and nearer to you than your hands and feet. It is right where you are. You know, when we do take that first step in faith, in whatever it is, where we step out of that comfort zone, we do receive the gift of joy. And we feel that soft embrace from the infinite. And that is what encourages us to then take another step. And that's how we learn to trust. You know, by divine birthright, you and I are worthy of the best that we can envision. We don't have to earn it. We simply have to trust it. To have faith in God is to follow this faith through by having faith in ourselves. The authentic self that we are is God, and as such, we should trust it completely. Ernest Holmes says, God in you, as you is you. There is nothing else you can be. You didn't have anything to do with it. You didn't make it, and you can't change it. You didn't do anything that was good enough to earn it, and you can't do anything bad enough to destroy it. So today, let's begin to see the world as God's palette and honor our own via creativa by expanding who we are as an artist. You know, there's an art in cooking, in preparation, presentation. There is art in our work, in our play, in our interactions with others. Anything we are engaged in can become an artistic endeavor if we choose to see it that way. Brother Lawrence found God washing pots and pans. He found the art in washing pots and pans. Yeah. And I've told you, I think, about my friend who, while she was going to college, she found a job in a typing pool. It was a terrible job. But she decided she was going to make the best of it. So when she walked in, she pretended that she was entering Carnegie Hall. And she would treat her typing skills as her artistic expression, and when her day was over, she would give thanks for her good performance. Well, it wasn't very long before she was promoted into a much more creative position, all because she saw herself as an artist rather than a typist. We can be artists with other people, encouraging, sharing, nurturing. We can be artists with our children and grandchildren by giving them time and attention and love. We are made in the image and likeness of God, made in the image and likeness of pure creativity, pure love. And you and I need to say yes as co-creators of our own life with this absolute power and presence. We can birth the images we hold into fruition by seeing through appearances to the highest and best that is possible, and know that we deserve it all simply by our own birthright. And we can be artists of our own life by trusting ourselves and trusting Spirit. And I want to close today with another quote from Ernest Holmes. We should come then to this great reservoir of nature, to this infinite side of ourselves, in full and simple trust, in confidence and faith. And taking those small gifts of our lives which seem so limited, so slight and so inconsequential, bless them with a steadfastness which has behind it faith in the invisible, a conviction that we are spiritual entities in a spiritual system, and that there is a divine destiny back of each and every one of us. And if we do this, we shall most surely find that this divine creativeness is stimulating everything in our lives to a newness and a freshness, a new growth that is bigger, better, and happier. This is to discover the secret of life within each one of us, that divine creativity. And that's via creativity, the path of imagination. Thank you. Namaste.